Hello everyone! Today's joke of the day is, what's the best thing to put into a pumpkin pie? Stay tuned to find out. Our learning target for today is I can approximate real numbers on a number line. So we're going to try and approximate the following numbers on the number line. So let's take a look at these first four numbers here. Okay, if we have the square root of negative 17, well, the way that we're going to try and figure out where this goes in the number line is by figuring out what perfect squares it's close to, right? So we know that that is going to be between the square root of 16, right? The square root of 17 is between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. Okay, so it's going to be between 4 and 5. Okay, but 17 is a lot closer to 16. Okay, so it's going to be a lot closer to 4. So actually, and since it's negative, it'll be closer to negative 4. Okay, but it'll be slightly more than negative 4, so slightly more negative. Okay, so we're going to put negative 17 about right here. Negative square root of 17, excuse me. Negative square root of 17 right there. Okay, next one we want to look at is 8/3. Okay, so if we have 8/3, we want to figure out what that would be as a mixed number. So 3 goes into 8 2 times. Okay, so 3 times 2 is 6, and then we end up with 2 left over. So 8/3 is 2 and 2/3. So I'll go to 2 and then 2/3 more. So about right there would be where 8/3 is, and I'll put it back in its original form there. Okay, 15 divided by 3, well, that equals 5. 15/3 is the same as 5, so that one's super easy. We can put it right here, 15/3. Okay, now this one's a little bit trickier. We have the square root of 49 over 16. Okay, well, if we have the square root of two perfect squares being divided by each other, this is really the same as taking the square root of 49 and then dividing it by the square root of 16. Okay, then we can just simplify that. The square root of 49 is 7, and the square root of 16 is 4. Okay, so here we have 7/4, and then we can simplify that or put that into a mixed number. Okay, and 4 goes into 7 one time, and with 3/4 left over, so 1 and 3/4, so about right there is where we're going to put the square root of 49 over 16. Okay, and that's those four numbers on the number line. Let's move on to the next example. Here we start with 9/5. So let's rewrite that as an improper fraction. That would give us, well, 5 goes into 9 one time, and then there are 4/5 left over. So 9/5 is the same as 1 and 4/5. So let's go to 1, then over 4/5. So somewhere around there is where we would put 9/5. Okay, the square root of 25 over 49, well, that'd be the square root of 25, which is 5, divided by the square root of 49, which is 7. So that would be 5/7, which is a little bit less than 1, okay, but more than a half. So that we'd put it about there, and that's 25, the square root of 25 over 49. Okay, the square root of 12, well, that's going to be between the square root of 9, the square root of 9, which is 3, the square root of 9, which is 3, and the square root of 16, which is 4. The square root of 12 is pretty much in between those, but it's slightly closer to the square root of 9. Okay, it's slightly closer to 9, so it'd be slightly closer to 3, but kind of in the middle of 3 and 4. So we put the square root of 12 about right there. Okay, and then if we have the square root of -5, or the negative square root of 5, excuse me, that's going to be between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9. Okay, but a lot closer to the square root of 4. So it's going to be slightly more than, okay, the square root of 4, which is -2. Square root of 9 is -3. Okay, so it's going to be slightly more than -2, but not by a whole lot. So that will be the negative square root of 5. Okay, and then -8/4, well, we can divide 8 by 4, and that gives us -2. So that's where, so right on -2 is where we'd have -8/4. Okay. let's move on. Look at this next example. Here we start out with 3 halves, which we can simplify, or we can change into a mixed number. 2 goes into 3 one time, and we're left with 1 half left over. So this will be at 1 1/2, which is right in the middle between 1 and 2, is where 3 halves goes. Okay, 2 squared we know is 2 times 2, which equals 4. So this is where you put 2 squared. 2.2. Okay, that's a little bit more than 2, not quite 2 1/4. So we'd put 2.2 about right there. And then -2 goes right at -2. Okay. Finally, we have a few more square roots to look at. So the square root of 25 we know is equal to 5. So that one's pretty easy. We can put the square root of 25 right at 5. The square root of 2, well, that's going to be between the square root of 1 and the square root of 4, which is 1 and 2. So it's going to be between 1 and 2, but it's definitely a lot closer to 1. So it's going to go maybe about right there, the square root of 2. Okay, the square root of 10 will be between the square root of 9, which is 3, and the square root of 16, which is 4. Definitely closer to 3 though, so we'll put it slightly above 3, be the square root of 10 here. And then negative square root of 8. Okay, so that will be between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9, or the negatives of those. So between -2 and -3. It'll just be slightly less than -3, so we'll put it about right there and end up with the negative square root of 8. Okay, so when you are trying to approximate numbers on the number line, you want to simplify them as much as possible and then try and figure out kind of what numbers they're between, and or which integers they're between, I should say, and then which one of those integers are they closest to. Okay, for the joke of the day, what's the best thing to put into a pumpkin pie? Your teeth. Have a great day.